Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are diving headfirst into the world of contemporary art.
That's right.
And to help us navigate this pretty complex world, we're going to be looking at this academic paper.
Yes.
It's called Understanding and Navigating the Contemporary Art World. And I think it's going to give us some really interesting insights into not just what contemporary art IS, but also how to actually, make a go of it as an artist in today's world.
Roadmap.
A roadmap,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's just start with the basics. Like, when we say contemporary art, what are we actually talking about? I mean, we all kind of have a sense of it, but the paper gives a pretty specific time frame, right?
It does, yeah. It defines contemporary art as work created from the late 20th century to the present.
Okay, so basically from like the 1960s, 70s onward.
Yeah, exactly. But the interesting thing is that it's not just about when it was made. It's about the actual content and ideas behind it.
Right.
Contemporary art is incredibly diverse, not just in terms of mediums, but, in the ideas that it explores.
Yeah, it's like forget those stuffy museum paintings.
Yeah.
We're talking installations, performance art, digital creations. It's really all over the place.
Exactly. And that's where this concept of conceptual focus comes in, which the paper talks about a lot.
Right.
And that's a key characteristic of contemporary art. It's not just about aesthetics anymore. It's about the concept behind the work. Artists are engaging with social issues, politics, the environment.
It's about making a statement.
Exactly.
Like the paper gives this example of an installation piece that makes you really question your own consumption habits. And I thought that was a really interesting example.
Right. And what I think is really fascinating is that this isn't just like a Western phenomenon.
Right.
Contemporary art is truly global, with artists from all over the world contributing to this, this ongoing conversation about, the world we live in.
Yeah. So we've got this global art movement that's, really focused on ideas more than just like traditional aesthetics.
Yeah. Yeah, more conceptual.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But I know what you're thinking because I'm thinking it too. How do you actually make it as an artist in this world?
Yeah, that's a good question.
The competition must be fierce.
It is. It is. And the paper does actually offer some guidance on how to kind of navigate this complex world.
Okay, lay it on me.
Well, one of the key points that it makes is the importance of finding your unique voice as an artist.
And I think that's something a lot of people struggle with, especially when it feels like everything's been done before. How do you stand out?
Right. It's tough. And the paper talks about, exploring different mediums, really finding your personal perspective and being willing to constantly, learn and evolve as an artist.
So it's a journey.
It really is.
So talent is important, but it's not just about talent.
No, absolutely not. You need that special something that makes your art stand out.
You got to have that X factor.
Yeah, and once you have that, the paper really stresses the importance of showcasing it. You need a killer portfolio, Think of it as your artistic resume.
Yeah, so we're talking high-quality images of your work. But the paper also mentions documenting your process.
Yes.
Like showing sketches or works in progress. It's like giving people a peek behind the curtain.
It adds context, yeah.
Yeah. And these days, having a strong online presence is crucial.
Oh, absolutely. A website, social media, it's like having your own digital gallery that's open 24/7.
Right. It's amazing how technology has really changed the game for artists. But speaking of changing the game, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the art market.
Ah, yes.
It can be pretty intimidating for an aspiring artist.
It can, but the paper actually does a good job of kind of demystifying it a little bit.
Okay.
It talks about understanding trends, pricing your work strategically, and building relationships with collectors.
Yeah, I think people underestimate the importance of relationships in any field, really.
Yeah.
But especially in the art world.
Absolutely. It's not just about the art itself. It's about the people you meet and the relationships you cultivate. And actually, the paper tells this really interesting anecdote about how personal connections can lead to really unexpected opportunities.
It's about who you know.
It really is. Yeah.
But speaking of professionalism, the paper also emphasizes the importance of, being professional.
Right.
Like having a strong artist statement, being organized,
Yeah.
communicating effectively.
All the basics.
It's like treating your art like a business, even if it's also your passion.
Exactly. Yeah, it shows that you're serious about your craft.
Right. This is all great stuff. But there's so much more to unpack. I think we need to dive into some of these deeper themes that are kind of dominating the contemporary art world today. So let's
do it.
take a closer look after a quick break. We'll be right back.
Sounds good. Welcome back. So before the break, we were talking about the practical side of being an artist.
Right, right.
But now I think we should dive into some of the deeper themes that are really kind of dominating the contemporary art world right now. And the paper really does a good job of outlining some of these big ideas.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really interesting for me. It's not just about pretty pictures anymore. It's about art that really reflects the complexities of the world we live in.
Exactly. And one of the most prominent themes that the paper highlights is identity and representation.
Okay.
So contemporary artists are exploring questions of race, gender sexuality, cultural heritage.
Yeah.
It's all about, who we are and how we see ourselves in the world.
And I think it's so fascinating how art can give a voice to these different perspectives and experiences, right? Like it's not just about, one dominant narrative anymore.
Right.
It's about showcasing the diversity of human existence.
Exactly. And speaking of challenging dominant narratives, another major theme the paper explores is consumerism and capitalism.
Oh, wow.
So artists are critiquing our obsession with material goods and the commodification of everything.
I'd give an art itself.
Even art itself, exactly.
It's so relevant,
Yeah.
right? Especially in today's world of, social media and influencer culture, where everything feels like it's being sold to us.
It is.
It's like art is holding up a mirror to society and saying,
Right.
hey, let's take a closer look at this.
Yeah. And speaking of mirrors, the paper also talks about the relationship between technology and society.
Mm-hmm.
This is huge in contemporary art, with artists exploring the impact of technology on our lives. Everything from social media to artificial intelligence to the metaverse.
It's wild. It's like art is trying to make sense of this digital age we live in, right? Like asking questions about how technology is shaping US and how we're shaping IT in return.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about another really pressing issue of our time, the environment.
Of course.
The paper talks about how environmental concern is a major theme in contemporary art, with artists responding to climate change and ecological crises in really powerful and thought-provoking ways.
It's art that's not afraid to tackle the big issues,
No, it's not.
raise awareness and even inspire action.
Absolutely. And finally, the paper highlights the theme of globalization and migration.
Okay.
Reflecting the interconnectedness of our world, the movement of people and ideas across borders.
So it's like art is breaking down barriers and fostering dialogue,
Mhm.
showing us the beauty and the challenges of a world that's constantly in flux.
Exactly.
I like that.
And what's great about understanding these themes? It's not just for, art critics or academics.
Right.
It's for anyone who wants to engage with contemporary art on a deeper level.
Yeah, it's like having a key to unlock the meaning behind the art,
Yeah.
to appreciate the thought and intention behind those brushstrokes or pixels or whatever it may be.
Exactly. It provides context and it helps us see how contemporary art is both reflecting and shaping the world that we live in.
So we've talked about the what of contemporary art, the themes, the concepts, the ideas.
Right.
But let's get back to that. How
How do you actually gain traction in the art world? And the paper gives some really solid advice on this. And I have to say, it's not all about just creating amazing art.
Right, talent is important, but it's only part of the equation.
Okay.
The paper stresses the importance of getting your work seen, of gaining exposure, and one way to do that is through juried shows and competitions.
Yeah, those classic art competitions. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not just about winning, right?
No.
It's about getting your work in front of a wider audience and getting feedback from experts in the field.
Exactly. And in today's world, you can't ignore the power of social media.
Of course not.
It's become an essential tool for artists to showcase their work and connect with a global audience.
It really has, yeah. It's like having your own personal gallery that's accessible to anyone, anywhere in the world.
And it's free
Exactly.
or relatively inexpensive.
Yes.
And of course, the more traditional route of approaching galleries is still relevant.
Yeah. It takes research and persistence, but, getting represented by a reputable gallery can be a game changer for an artist's career.
Yeah, I imagine it's all about finding the right fit a gallery that really aligns with your style and vision.
Absolutely.
But, let's be real. The art world is also a business,
Oh, yeah.
right? So the paper talks about the importance of understanding the art market,
Mm-hmm.
knowing how to price your work, and
Yeah.
building relationships with collectors.
Exactly. All of that.
It's like you need a business mindset alongside your artistic one.
You do. You really do. And speaking of professionalism,
Yeah,
the paper has a whole section on developing a strong artist statement.
that's so important.
It's like your elevator pitch for your art.
Yeah,
You got to be able to articulate your vision and your process in a clear and compelling way.
and concisely.
Concisely, yes.
Because nobody wants to read, a novel.
And it's also about being organized,
Yeah.
communicating effectively, and building positive relationships with everyone, from gallery owners to fellow artists.
It sounds like a lot to juggle.
It is, but I think that's the reality of being a professional artist in today's world. You got to wear a lot of hats.
So true. Okay, well, this has been a really enlightening conversation so far.
It has.
But the paper does leave us with one final piece of advice.
Yeah.
So let's wrap things up with that after a quick break.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so we're back, and I'm really curious to hear what that final piece of advice is from the paper.
Yeah.
The one that's going to kind of tie it all together.
Well, it's interesting because it's not really like a strategy or a technique, It's
Right.
more of a mindset.
Ooh, okay, I like that. Intrigue me.
So the paper really emphasizes that, through all the hustle and the networking and the business side of art, you should never lose sight of your passion.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I could see how that would be really important. It's easy to get so caught up in the making it aspect and forget like why you started creating in the first place.
Exactly. The paper reminds us that, art should be fulfilling. It shouldn't just be a means to an end. It's about expressing yourself, exploring ideas, connecting with others through your creativity. It's about that spark, that makes you want to create, even when it's hard.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of artists really struggle with, especially when they're trying to build a career. It's like, how do you balance the passion with the practicalities of actually making a living from your art?
It's tough. It's a delicate balance for sure, but the paper argues that passion is really what sustains you through the challenges, the rejections, the inevitable ups and downs of the art world.
Yeah, it's like the fuel that keeps your creative engine running.
Exactly.
Without it, you're just going through the motions.
And here's the thing, when you're genuinely passionate about your art, it shows.
Right.
It shines through in your work, and that's what resonates with people.
So it's not just about feeling good. It's about creating art that's, authentic and impactful.
Exactly. Passion is contagious.
Oh, I like that.
When you create from that place of genuine love for what you do, it connects with viewers on a deeper level. It moves them. It inspires them. It makes them think.
That's a powerful thought. So for all those aspiring artists out there listening,
Yeah.
hone your skills, learn the business side of things, but never let go of that passion that ignited your artistic journey in the first place.
It's that spark that makes your art unique, and it's ultimately what will make you stand out in a world full of, incredibly talented artists.
Well said. Well, this has been such a fascinating deep dive into the world of contemporary art.
He has.
Thanks for joining us and for sharing all your insights.
My pleasure.
And for our listeners, don't forget to check out the show notes for links to the paper we discussed and other resources that might be helpful for you as you kind of, continue on your own artistic journeys.
Keep creating.
Yes, keep creating, keep exploring, keep asking questions. And until next time, stay curious.